Hi, so this video is going to take you through the process of the pop art cartoons, the new project. So what you should have set up is you should have in your folder, you should have a pop art folder, and inside that folder you should have found a picture of a cartoon. It should be flat, should be large, so when you do look at it in preview, it fills up the space really nicely. Okay. So once you have your picture, you're going to head over to Pixlr E, and you're going to open the image up. Okay. Very first thing we're going to do is we're going to crop this picture down. So we're going to use the crop tool, shortcuts the letter C, and we're going to crop this picture into real close and try to get it as close to a square as possible. You don't have to have it be a perfect square, but something squarish. So even if you have to cut off some of the subject, that's okay. So you want it to be nice and close and something like a square. If you need it, you really want it to be a square, an absolute 100% square, change the constraint right up here from free to ratio and make the ratio, and it should be already set, 1:1 ratio is fine. And then go back and move it around because you'll see that it kind of forces you to have that be a square. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go back to free and I'm going to make a squarish shape. Something kind of like a square, not a complete square. There we go. All right. And again, if you want some of the subject cut off, that's completely fine. I'd rather it have less of the background. And then we hit apply. It's at this point you want to save this. So we're going to go to File, Save, and we're going to save it as a JPEG. Set the quality to high if you could. And we're going to save this, instead of saving it as Goofy again, we're going to save it as cropped Goofy. Okay, so we have two pictures. We have the regular one, uncropped, and then we have the cropped one. Okay, now we're going to take this picture and we are going to apply it to a new image. So we went back to the home like that and we went to create new. We're going to set up a square. So we're going to go set up the width at 2000 pixels and make the height 2000 pixels. Background, and you can have the background be white, or especially if your background is white in your picture, you can also set it to like a grayish kind of color so it doesn't get too mixed up. Okay. And there we have it. So we want to get this picture over here, and we don't even need this tab. We're going to open it up as a new layer. So to do that, you're going to go to your layers window, click on the plus, click on image. You're going to find your cropped picture, open that up. Now we're going to be fitting 9 on here, so obviously I won't be able to fit 9 on here, not at this size, so we're going to have to shrink this down. Make sure that the aspect is set at free, because you don't want this one, as opposed to like how you were cropping it, you don't want it to be smushed like that. You want it to be fixed. So you want to make sure that the size is the same. So I'm going to set it up so that way it was set back to normal, and then I'm going to fix it. There we go. I'm going to shrink this down, and it's going to be sort of a trial and error. You have to kind of try it out first to make sure that it is small enough. So to do this, just to start, have this in the center, and you have these guidelines, these pink guidelines that get you perfectly in the center. I'm going to go and I'm going to duplicate it. There's two ways you can duplicate this layer. One way is going, if you're on the Arrange tool, one of your options up here is duplicate. You can also hit the button here, duplicate, assuming that this one is the one that's highlighted, not layer 1, this picture. So I just made one copy by clicking. And what I'm doing is I'm just double checking to make sure I have enough room. This looks a little bit tight for my taste. I wanted a little bit more space in between. So I'm going to hit the delete button. I'm going to delete it. And I'm going to shrink the original one up just a little bit. not too much. Okay, now I'm going to duplicate. How many do I need? Well, I have 1. I need 9 altogether, so I need 8. So I can come up here or down here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then I can spread them all out. And you can see that there's guidelines that are going to help us to keep everything straight and even. And that's what we're doing. So take a little extra time. Make sure that this is set up nice and even. Oops, wrong one. Now, if you want to move it pixel by pixel, instead of using your mouse, if you want to get this perfectly correct, you can use the arrows on your keyboard. Moving the left one, I move the down arrow, so you can move it pixel by pixel. It's also okay if you zoom into those corners. Make sure that they are all nice and neat. Alright, I'm happy with that. That looks good. Now we're going to pick colors. So be aware that I am an art teacher and I'm going to be looking at color balance. So you don't want to just use a whole mess of like a million different colors. You want to stick to about 4, 5, even 6. So I'm going to start off in the middle, and I'm going to go 2 ways that you can change the colors. You can go to Adjustment, and you can go to Hue Saturation. Okay, you get this window that opens up. You can move it over. If you slide the hue, you can see that the colors are changing. So that might be just something that, exactly what you're looking for. Okay. Another way, and I'm going to do the same exact thing, but I'm going to use this guy right up here. You can go to Adjustment, Hue Saturation, and you can do the same process, but there's a subtle difference here. Do you see how there are a few different kinds of greens going on here? So if you want it to be monochromatic, in other words, one color, mono meaning one and chroma meaning color, you can slide this colorize toggle over, so you can see now, even if I get to the similar family as down below, right underneath it, it's using the same exact color. There's no variation where this one has like a bluish purple, this is a reddish purple, this is all the same. So that could be another variation that you want. The last variation, and this is one that you're going to be spending a significant amount of time in, is, I'm going to zoom in on this guy, is back to, excuse me for a second, go to the Arrange, make sure I'm clicked on this one. I'm going to go to Adjustment again. This time, instead of Hue Saturation, go to Color Lookup. So Color Lookup gives you this gradient, and it gives you a bunch of preset gradients down below here. So if I click on a gradient, it will be applied to this picture. Okay. So if you find color family that you kind of like, let's say you really like this red with this yellow, if you move on the bottom of the gradient, there are these little crayons, and these are called stops. If you move them, you can see you're changing the look of this picture. If you want to replace one of the colors, let's say you want to replace this red with another color, you can click on the stop, then you click on this square here, and let's say that I want it to be blue. And there we go, it replaced it. You can do the same thing with the other stop if you wanted to replace it. Okay. If you wanted to add a stop, you can add a stop. All you have to do is click right underneath the gradient, and you just added a stop. To change the color of that, again, you click on it, click on the square, and now if you have 3 of them, you can have a lot. You have more than 3, 4, 5. But if you move the color stops around, even if you push them closer together, you can see it affects the distribution or the amount of that color that you're getting and where the color is going to be applied. So you can experiment with this and figure out exactly the look that you want. I kind of like the white over there because it makes it look like a negative. What if I switch the places of these two? So, you can play around and figure out how you want this to be. And that's another way that you can have a variation of color. So the idea is you're going to have 9 different variations going here. Okay? And explore different color varieties, but don't get too caught up. If you use a color variety, use it in other places as well. And with that being said, if you feel like you want to move some of these squares to different parts of the picture, because you want to spread out the color in the variety of color variations, you can do that. So I separated the purpley red colors. I kind of separated them because they didn't really look right together, So if I use this green, I probably want to use this green in another spot. So again, I can click here. I can go to Adjustment. I can go to Color Lookup. Now if I know I want to use this green, what I can do is I can hit one of the stops. I can go to Color, and I can put my cursor right on top of that color I want to sample. So you can see it's using that color. Alright. So yeah, play around with the different variations and see what kind of color combinations you come up with. And as I said, don't get too caught up in all different colors. Kind of stick to like 4 or 5 maybe. So if you really like this blue, use the blue with a different color. So I can use this blue here, and I can switch the places. And maybe I want to use this. Instead of the red, I want to use this pink right here. And I can use that color combination together. Just like that. If you add white or black, you can try adding black to it and see what happens. See how that changes the look of the picture and the order. So, you have a lot of variety. Oh, to delete a stop, click on it. And just hit the trash can. Alright, so hopefully you have some fun with this and explore many different possibilities. And if you have any questions, you know how to get in touch with me. And have some fun. Hopefully you enjoy it.